Hi everybody, it's me, Miss Jessica lwhor, and we're back with another Jess Talk. And for today, we're talking about my first time in drag, many eons ago. But before we start this story together, I need you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the bell for notifications, and make sure you are following us all on this podcast that we call Jess Talks. Baby, first time in drag, let's get into it.
Attention lwhor, attention lwhor, attention lwhor, attention. Here I am walking down the street, seeing all the boys trying to take a peek. Shorts pulled up, a chest upright. Come on, boys, just take a bite. Look but don't touch, spin it round and round. Crazy.
Okay, so first time in drag, this is 11 and a half years ago, and I have two firsts, okay? I have my, first time on stage, okay, and then my first paid gig. That's like what I would consider my first time in drag. And I'm going to add a third. The first time that I dressed as a woman, but I didn't know what drag was. So let's start with that one. Technically, I had worn women's clothing, or one year I dressed as a dead hooker for Halloween, and I loved it. So, I mean, I could say I did drag in that sense in high school. I remember going as a dead hooker or a hooker in general and whatnot, which was a form of drag, but I didn't know what to call it. So I would say we could consider that to be my first time in drag. All right. Flash forward many, many years, I would separate my two first times from the time that I stepped on stage and felt like I was a character, performing, and when I got my first paid booking. And one leads into the next. So I went to Colorado State University, and I remember watching the big CSU drag show. It's huge. It's the biggest university drag show in the country. There's thousands of people that come to watch this show. It's amazing. And I helped curate what that show was. Story for another time. I remember sitting in the audience and watching these entertainers kill it on stage. Group dances, drag excellence, Victoria Sexton, people really just celebrating everyone that touched the stage. I was enamored. I remember seeing just a little bit of it. After that, and I had then started trying drag, and it's kind of weird how all of that came together. I decided to try it one semester, okay? So I had been doing drag just a little bit in my dorm room, nothing crazy, and I decided that I was going to be part of the CSU drag show. I found two of my really good friends, Juliet and Kira, who helped me put together this little group number dance. I remember having this white blouse with a tie and a stiletto white boot with some very mom Karen hair, just maybe mixed with a little bit of Rachel from Friends. That was the highlighted color. I always was in highlights. And we performed at the CSU Drag Show. Now, mind you, I wasn't out yet, so it was terrifying. It was probably one of the most scary feelings ever. Every time I was around people, I kept my face down so no one would recognize me in makeup. I remember shaking so much because I didn't want anyone to know it was me. And even though you have makeup on the way that I used to do it, clearly it was me. Clearly, it was me with a little bit of liquid foundation and a wig on. But I was so scared. I was so nervous. I ended up hurting my friend Juliet's hand because I was squeezing it way too hard. But I got up on the stage. I ended up doing it, and people went crazy for it. That's why I tell people, if you're going to be a first-time performer, find an open stage or a university show or something like that where people are just there to scream and cheer you on. Because I felt like the baddest bitch. I wish there was video of it. I wish I had photos of it. I loved the look. I remember trying to do dance moves. I even did one where I got on my friend Kira's back, but then I think I stepped too much with my heel and I punctured her back or bruised her back, so that wasn't cute. I performed to the song I'm a Machine by David Guetta. I'm a machine, baby, and you got the key, baby. And yeah, I was obsessed with the song, still am, but that was my first time performing on stage. And everyone went crazy. It was a really good time. Very, very terrifying, very scary. So that show was technically my first time on stage. But that night, after I performed, a local entertainer named Alana Filipina was wonderful enough to come up to me and say, hey, do you want to come and perform? I'll give you a paid spot in this show in Loveland. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, like how freaking cool is that? Realizing that it was very, very, very new and terrified and had no idea what I was doing. But yeah, she offered it to me. I took it. So my first time getting paid to perform, I walked into this like warehouse looking, storage unit looking bar named Suede. With like a little bar and a big open stage and a little get ready room, and all the queens are up there, painting their face, and I bring my tiny little makeup container with liquid foundation, powder that made my face way too dark, red lip gloss lipstick. I remember all the products, my little CoverGirl, this, that. Like I remember the products were so simple, and I'm doing my makeup. I'm really keeping to myself. I didn't say hi to anybody, and I got red for filth because I finished my makeup in like 22 minutes. I looked the same, just with a cakier foundation on, and the queens were teasing me, or Alana was teasing me. It was like, oh, you see, cover girls doesn't cover a boy, all those like classic sayings. But I freaked out because she was like, oh, you're gonna do 2 numbers, and I was like,
what do you mean I'm going to do 2 numbers? Like, I only prepared 1. I don't think I could ever do 2. I don't even know what to do for a second one.
And she's like, okay, then you can just do 1. That's fine. But it's weird to think that I panicked over that now. And nowadays I'm doing 12 numbers a day. Sometimes it's crazy. So I was scared to do it. The theme was red, white, and blue 4th of July fantasy. That was the theme. And for some reason, my very pasty ass decided to do Oops by Tweet. The tell you what I did last night. I came home, and that one, and then there goes my shirt up over my head. There goes my skirt dropping to my feet. I decided to perform that to a 4th of July song, and I just stood on stage and swiveled like a worm and stripped clothes. Every time she said, take your shirt off, I took my shirt off, or I took her shirt off, and they were all red, white, and blue themed. My pantyhose were sticking out. I had lipstick on my teeth. It was a very interesting time. Of course, your friends come and they support you and they tell you, oh, you were so awesome, you killed it, you're so gorgeous. But I have photos from that night. I should probably put them. I'm going to send it to you. This photo of me in a hat from my first show, lipstick on my teeth, Cub shirt that I stole from my sister one summer years ago. Wild. But that sparked it. Because of that show, I was put in the cast of the Glitter Drag Troupe. And I was the baby for quite some time. But it's amazing looking back at those first time experiences years and years and years ago, never thinking that this is where I would be sitting and what I would be doing now. Crazy. Wild, I tell you. And I would choose nothing else. There's no other way I could have experienced those first timers, but damn, I wish I had videos of the first one because it was messy as fuck. So the show at Suede, the funny thing about that is that even though that was my first show there, the girls had been doing shows there monthly for quite some time. And the following month, the month after I performed there, it flooded and it shut down. So I never got to go back there. We moved as a group to this other place called the Astoria. And it was a little glitter drag troupe is what we called it. The Glitter Drag Troupe. It was Alana Filipina, Natalia Winters, me as the baby, Cristal, kind of Anya Knees. She's there, but she's there, but we don't know where, but she's there. And then I would say now it's dropped after so many years, and it's just the 3 of us. It's me, Cristal, and Maverick. Maverick came in later down the road. And that's been like my longest family, my longest drag family too, was because that's my first show, and those people in it I'm still friends with, still get to work with. But it's crazy to think that was so long ago. I couldn't even tell you who was in the CSU show. It was so many years ago. They always have so many different cast members and students. But it's kind of interesting that Fort Collins ended up being a big start to me even seeing what drag was or getting on the stage. Other universities and other cities don't have it as accepting and as like prominently featured. And it's a big deal at CSU. So I think I was really privileged to have that too, that introduction into it. Because otherwise, I don't even know where my other first stage would have been, to be honest, without doing the research and looking into it. But yeah.
What do you think you would change, like, from your first performance?
So much. a lot of it's a blur. I would not stand on my friend's back. I would wear shorter heels. I was definitely, those girls that you watch try to walk in heels, and it's not that they can't walk in them, but you're like, oh, you can't survive long periods of time in them, and now you're struggling. I'd rather you just perform in a flat, a biscuit, or a chunky heel and not struggle, rather than wear this 3.5-inch heel and you can't even walk a straight line.
Yeah. So now that you're like 11 years in the game, what advice would you give yourself going
Oh my God.
for the first time?
Come out, just tell everybody. Just go tell everybody and have fun, and don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about the people that are watching you. You're so worried about everybody else and how they perceive you and look at you. And there's so much shame about being outed, and so much shame that you can't be prominent in the queer scene while also wanting to be, but you're not out yet. It's weird. Just come out. Just do it. Suck less earlier on. You could have avoided so much shit in that moment, for real. So that's what I'd change. If I could tell my person that was performing, get on the microphone after this number and come out to everybody. Period. I would never. I would never. It couldn't be me. Yeah, I don't even remember how much I got paid for my first show. I want to say it was like $25. $25 seems pretty standard, and that was like gas, performance, everything included. And then, of course, I had tips, but I only did one number. Remember, I was scared.
How much do you think you got tipped? Do you know?
No. I couldn't even tell you. I know I had friends there that came to see me, and of course, when your friends show up, they tip and they scream and they make you feel super special. But no, I don't know. I couldn't even tell you. I feel like so much of it I blacked out because it happened so quick. I can picture pieces of it. But I still want to perform that song again. I try to perform it every couple of years on like my anniversary for drag. It was at the end of July. But I don't know. The CSU one had to have been earlier that spring. Now the weather, I could smell the rain drops as they fell gracefully on the tippy tips of my fingers. I had a moment where I looked into the dusk and I said to myself, you can do drag. You've got this, little ugly fat boy. To each their own, I was very hard on myself. That's all I got.
That's all, okay.
Dun, 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 dun. Tell me down below in the comments, what are some other first-time experiences you want to hear from me? Until then, enjoy this Jess Talk. Bye.
Just an attention lwhor can't help it. I'm an attention lwhor. I'm an attention lwhor. Can't help it. I'm an attention lwhor.